Jennifer from heysealemon. I have seen some requests from you guys for a binding using ribbon, so today I'm going to show you how to make this floral window metallic leather journal with ribbon binding. This can make a sweet little photo album or a journal / sketchbook with colorful pages. And I'm happy to say that today's video is sponsored by Cricut, so I did use my Cricut Maker to make this journal. And I did learn a lot of things along the way because this is my first leather project using the Maker. So I will give you some tips that I learned along the way. And of course, if you don't have this machine, you can definitely make your own version of this using your preference of supplies. You can find a full list of the supplies I used, including links in the video description below, and let's get into it. I wanted my first leather project to be a simple one, so I thought it would be fun to try one of their projects in the design space. This leather journal caught my eye, and it's also the same project that's featured on their leather packaging, so I wanted to try this one out. Each project will have a rundown of the materials and directions on how to assemble it. Now, I'm not saying you have to buy projects to use your Cricut. You can definitely make your own version of anything, and I just wanted to try this one out, and this one happens to be 99 cents. You can even preview the project before you buy it. You can see the actual measurements of everything and look at the files. The main benefit of buying it is that it's all laid out for you, so you don't really have to spend time laying things out, but you can definitely, again, make your own version on your own canvas. And you can also customize these if you just need a template to build off of. So 99 cents later, I just need to put my material on the mats and send them through the machine. All the steps are on the left, and I'm going to start with the cover. I'm using Cricut's metallic rose gold leather. It comes in a 12 by 12 inch sheet, and you can definitely use a different type of leather if you prefer. And if you're also new to cutting leather with the machine, I'll leave some links in the description that I found helpful. On my strong grip mat, I'm placing the smooth side down. And if you have a brayer that helps to smooth it down, I don't have one at the moment, so I'm going to use a bone folder, which should do the trick. And to keep the edges down while it's in the machine, I'm using masking tape. Since the outside of my cover is facing down, I'm going to flip this image so it cuts on the correct side. Then hit continue, and I'm going to tell it what material I'm using. You can do this by browsing and typing in the material so it finds it. And because this is a specific metallic leather, I chose that. But it did recommend a different blade than what it said on the packaging. I decided to just go with it and follow the directions on the design space. And first making sure all the star wheels are pushed toward the right so it doesn't dent my material. However, after a while I found that this blade does not cut this material very quickly, and it takes a lot of passes. So I decided to switch to the knife blade and not select metallic leather because it selected the other blade. But to do this, I had to change my leather setting, and then it will let me switch to a knife blade. Back to my machine, I switched that out, put the cover mat back in, and after the first go, which is 4 passes, this took about an hour, and it just wasn't cutting through. So after many hours of trying to make it cut through, I then realized through some troubleshooting that I had a dull blade. You might remember I used it previously to cut out my chipboard in this video, and I did realize that I had been using it quite a lot and it dulled the blade, so it was time for a new one. After replacing the blade with this kit, I then turned the mat around to use the extra material to make a new cover. And this new blade cut a lot faster, it made much cleaner cuts, and it was definitely less messy than the dull blade, so if you're having that same problem, try changing the blade. I could maybe salvage the first cover, but it was pretty rough. So I went ahead with the new cover and removed any negative spaces from the design, and I cleaned up the inside with a lint roller. Now for the pages, I'm using 4 sheets of 12 by 12 inch cardstock. Sticking these to the standard grip mat, and in the design space, just select the weight of cardstock you're using. Then this project will prompt me to put in the scoring wheel. So I switch that out and put the mat in. This will score the lines in the middle of the pages, making them easier to fold. Then it will prompt me to switch to the fine point blade, which will cut out the pages. When that's done, if you're worried about bending the paper when you lift it off the mat, try reversing the mat onto your tabletop and holding the paper while bending the mat. And I repeated this process on the remaining pages. Now that everything is cut, we can bind it all together. Stack all the pages together, and since they are scored, it should make it easier to fold them centered, making one big signature. Now to bind them with the cover, I'm using a 1/4 inch wide ribbon, and to estimate the amount of ribbon to use, I'm stringing it along the height of the spine about 4 times, which is more than enough, and single threading it into a large embroidery needle. Starting from the outside, I'm leaving a long piece on the outside, so that will be one part of the bow, returning it into the next set of holes. And depending on the thickness of your ribbon and your paper, you might need to go through each page individually. Return the needle through the next one, to the inside, and when you reach the last hole, which should be on the outside of your book, you can then tie those 2 pieces in a bow. I don't want this to come undone, so I'm going to tie a knot first and then a bow on top of that. Trim off any excess and then fold it all together. And the page measurements that were in the project file were actually a little bit wide for the cover once folded. You can leave it as is, or if it does bug you, you can trim the edge of your pages with a ruler and a craft knife. And I trimmed off about 1/4 inch on mine to stay just behind the cover. And here is my final leather journal. I really like how the detailed cover came out with the die cut design. And yes, this is sponsored, but they didn't ask me to buy their leather, and I do think that this leather is good quality. And when it comes to cutting leather, I think that's a really big benefit with the Cricut Maker is it can cut intricate designs that would maybe take too long to cut by hand, or maybe they would be too intricate and hurt your hand eventually. And with a sharp blade, you can get some really clean cut designs that look like it would be really expensive to have done. I think the pages were simple enough to cut by hand, and maybe it would have taken the same amount of time, but it is really nice to just stick my project on a mat and put it in the machine and let it go while I go do something else. Thanks again to Cricut for sponsoring this video. There's still so many projects I want to try with the Maker, and if there's something you would like to see on this channel, let me know in the comments below. And if you make your own version of this, I would love to see your project pictures, so share those with me on my social links, follow me, and add a #heysealemon. Give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit the bell right next to it so you can be the first to get notified for when I post new videos weekly. And I will put some book projects around here if you want to jump into another one. And if you want to support more book projects on this channel, go check out my Patreon. I have a book lemon tier, and you can also consider supporting me through YouTube memberships. I will put both of those links in the description below. And if there's any requests for other book projects you want to see on this channel, leave it in a comment below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!